Imagine opening your eyes one morning and sensing that something is fundamentally wrong with the world. The air presses harder against your skin. The horizon stretches farther than you ever remember. The sky feels too huge, as though it's curving over something impossibly large. You walk outside, but the ground beneath you feels different. A deeper pull, a subtle distortion, a sensation that the world has expanded beneath your feet. Because it has. Earth is no longer a small blue world orbiting quietly around the sun. It is transformed into a cosmic colossus, a world the size of the sun itself. A swollen, monstrous sphere of rock and atmosphere, swollen 1,000,000 times beyond its natural limits. The oceans stretch across distances so vast they no longer behave like water. The continents crack and warp under the new curvature. The atmosphere becomes thick enough to distort the sunlight passing through it. You are standing on the surface of a world that should not exist. And the moment Earth becomes sun-sized, the laws of physics stop working the way you understand them. The ground beneath you fractures outward in every direction. The crust strains as it's stretched across a sphere 100 times wider. Every mountain splits. Every canyon widens into an abyss. Entire continents tear themselves apart from the inside. The oceans rip open into new basins so massive that the curvature of the water itself becomes noticeable. The deep Earth expands so violently that magma chambers burst like balloons. Hundreds of thousands of volcanic vents ignite around the world simultaneously, releasing enough lava to bury nations. The air pressure skyrockets as the atmosphere stretches into a layer thousands of kilometers deep. Winds tear across the super Earth with the force of detonating bombs. But none of this is the primary killer. The real killer is gravity. If Earth truly became the size of the sun, it wouldn't just stretch outward. It would require sun-like mass. That means gravity becomes nearly 30 times stronger. The instant the transformation completes, every living creature is crushed flat. Not slowly, not painfully, instantly. Your bones can withstand about 10 grams for a fraction of a second. At 28 grams, your rib cage snaps inward, your heart collapses, your blood can't circulate. Your brain would be forced downward so violently that consciousness shuts off immediately. Every human, every animal, every insect, everything is flattened in an instant. But the planet itself suffers even more. Deep below, the core is squeezed into an ultra-dense sphere. Temperatures climb into the millions of degrees. Atoms are crushed so tightly that electrons break loose. The core becomes a plasma furnace. Earth starts to behave like a star, even if it doesn't fully ignite yet. As heat rises, the mantle transitions into a superheated, semi-fluid ocean of glowing minerals. Pressure waves ripple through the planet like the heartbeat of a dying giant. The crust cracks open in kilometer-wide fissures. Entire cities fall into chasms that seem to stretch forever. Oceans flash boil and rise upward as superheated vapor. The atmosphere becomes luminous from the heat rising through it. Earth no longer feels like a planet. It feels alive and it feels unstable. It feels like it's trying to become something else. Then everything changes at the core. Once temperatures and pressures cross the ignition threshold, Earth becomes capable of fusion, even if only for a brief moment. And when fusion begins, Earth stops being a dark, rocky world. It becomes a star. Light erupts from beneath the crust as the entire surface breaks apart under the raw force of stellar birth. The planet glows with blinding brightness. The oceans evaporate instantly, launching massive plumes of steam into space. The mountains melt into rivers of plasma. The atmosphere expands outward as a new stellar wind. Earth has transitioned from a planet to a newborn sun, a cosmic fireball with the power to sterilize the entire solar system. The moon is vaporized completely, turned into a glowing halo of dust that spirals into Earth's new stellar wind. Mars is blasted with enough radiation to strip its crust. Venus becomes a boiling chemical wasteland. Jupiter's storms go chaotic as radiation hits its atmosphere. The solar system is no longer stable. Two stars, the Sun and the new Earth star, begin tugging at each other gravitationally. Planets spiral into new orbits. Asteroids are pulled off course. The inner solar system becomes a death zone. But what if Earth didn't ignite? What if it became a sun-sized mass that failed to light up? A brown dwarf? Then the world would glow faintly, giving off deep red and infrared light. Temperatures at the surface would rise to hundreds or thousands of degrees. The atmosphere would expand into a thick layer of boiling gases. Storms the size of North America would rage for centuries. Lightning bolts would arc through metallic clouds. Earth would resemble a cooler, failed star, a glowing object, too massive to be a planet, too small to be a real star. In this version, Earth becomes a hostile miniature star system. Huge magnetic loops erupt from the super-Earth's magnetosphere. Auroras fill the sky at all latitudes. The crust becomes molten, forming a global magma ocean thousands of kilometers deep. There would be no surface, no land, no oceans, nothing solid to stand on. Life, in any form we know, would be impossible. But suppose Earth somehow did expand to sun size without changing mass. Gravity would drop to almost zero. Objects would float. The atmosphere would drift into space. The oceans would form a thin film spread unevenly across the enormous surface. The temperature gradient between equator and poles would become extreme. Colossal wind patterns would develop. Winds so fast they could strip paint off steel. The sky would turn a permanent deep blue or even black because the atmosphere would be too thin to scatter sunlight. Pressure would become inconsistent. Air pockets would form. Breathing would feel like drowning in vacuum. The planet would rotate so slowly that days could last months. Or rotate so fast that the equator bulges and the poles flatten. Either way, Earth's environment becomes incompatible with life. But what about orbit? A sun-sized Earth with sun-like mass becomes a gravitational rival to the sun itself. The two massive bodies begin pulling on each other, disrupting orbital paths. Earth might drift inward, tearing Mercury apart with tidal forces. It could drift outward and pull Mars into a collision course. It could destabilize the asteroid belt, sending hundreds of thousands of rocks toward the inner planets. Eventually, the Sun and the Earth star might spiral into one another, merging into a larger star in a catastrophic stellar collision. The result? A new ignition event, a super solar explosion. A radiant burst of light obliterating everything within millions of kilometers. No planets survive, no moons survive, no traces of the solar system remain. But the most fascinating and terrifying our scenario is philosophical. Earth's size is not random. It's the result of countless cosmic coincidences: its mass, its gravity, its chemistry, its distance from the sun, its atmospheric thickness, its magnetic field, its rotational speed. Everything that makes Earth habitable is delicately balanced. Change any one of these factors too dramatically, and Earth stops being Earth. It becomes a star, or a dwarf planet, or a molten sphere, or a frozen wasteland, or a gas giant, or a brown dwarf, or nothing at all. If Earth had ever been as large as the sun, even once, life never could have formed. Earth would not just be different, it would be dead, and it would be empty. It would be erased from the story of the universe. The planet we call home exists only because it is small. Small enough to cool, small enough to form oceans, small enough to sustain life, small enough to allow gentle gravity, small enough to hold an atmosphere without crushing us. Earth is the perfect size for life. Any bigger, even slightly, then we wouldn't be here. So the next time you look up at the sun, remember, its massive, blazing body is only hospitable from afar. And Earth is only hospitable because it never tried to become something it wasn't. Life exists in the fragile space between extremes. Between too large and too small, too hot and too cold, too bright and too dark. Earth was lucky, and so are we. If you enjoyed finding out what life could be like on a giant Earth, like, subscribe, and turn on that bell so you never miss another thought-provoking video from the Mind Metrics. Thanks for watching, and like always, stay curious.